Hey, my name's Ari and I help businesses adopt AI. One of the projects that we worked on recently, which I'm going to be very excited to talk you through, is around sorting mail. Basically, we had a client that used a lot of mail, meaning they received a lot of letters, had to send a lot of letters, a lot of the letters had to be responded to. And I'm not talking about emails, I'm talking about physical mail, faxes, those kinds of things. And the biggest problem that they had was they had a bunch of locations where mail just kept coming. So they literally had a team of people going around gathering all the mail. So yeah, let's sketch it out here. So this client of ours basically had a bunch of locations all over New York where they had to get all of their mail from. So they literally had a single person going around to every single location every single day, grabbing all of the letters, so almost like a 2 to 3 hour journey. And then they would bring all that mail back to one central main office where they would have two people sitting there whose only job it was to open the mail, sort it, and then determine where the mail needed to go. So then they would go and send it back to different departments or different sites internally of the back office. They would also send it to different people in different departments. And the problem was there were a lot of errors. The two people here really did not know all of the details around who was supposed to get the mail, how it was supposed to be handled, what all the times were, what all the dates were, how critical was the mail. And when we got faced with this problem, we found it really interesting. The first thing that we did was we actually followed the process ourselves. So we went around, looked at what was all the mail that was being collected, what were the different types of mail, the different categories, and we quickly realized that there weren't that many different kinds. We ended up with about 8 categories of mail. And so once we had all these categories, we now started to design a pipeline. And this pipeline is using a framework that we like to use called basically intelligence organization engineering, or also known as multi-agent. Effectively what we do is we create multiple agents to handle tasks. So our solution to this was we said, okay, what if instead of having someone go to every single location, right? So instead of having someone driving around and then having all these people in the center, right? We took all of the locations that they had, all of the offsites, and we had them all do one thing. We had them scan the mail and send it, because we quickly realized the physical mail was kind of useless. It was just an information packet or something that was needed to be responded to. You didn't actually need to keep the physical mail. So the first thing that we did was we had this company scan all their mail and send it all electronically to the main office. So instead of having a person going around, we now saved a good amount of cost by having all of this sent electronically to the back office. So just by doing this little optimization, we were able to now clean up a lot of the work that was here, right? You have to pay for the gas and the mileage and all of these things. Now, getting all of this into a back office isn't the hard part, right? Any company can do that. The difficulty was that they were not able to figure out, okay, how do we actually get these people to now use this mail? And effectively what we did was we took a problem that maybe took 2-3 hours or 4 hours of work for a couple of people to do, and now we've digitized it, right? So the first step that we like to do is we like to figure out how can we digitize this process, right? Because once you can digitize a process, then you can actually go ahead and figure out how to AIify it. So the digitization was done through this email and scanning of documents. So basically the staff at the office would open the mail, scan it, and send it all to a single email inbox. So now that we have all of the mail in this inbox, this is a single inbox that we created, and all of the locations are feeding in their mail. This inbox now is full, right? They're getting about 500 to 600 pieces of mail a day. And now the people, instead of working on the physical mail, now and like taking up space in an office, having to open it, creating tons of trash and shredding waste and all of that, now it can be done straight at the locations, and the inbox now can be tracked, right? So the next thing we did was we now put these people to start working on the inbox. Then we started to follow their process. So we said, okay, what does their work actually look like? And so we started to look through, going through the categorizations of the mail. And we basically said, okay, let's first start off by determining for each piece of mail that comes in, so you get a single letter, right? Figure out where does it need to go? What are the departments? So we had our 8 categories from before. And we created basically LLMs, or single function chat GPTs, for each of the 8 categories. So each of these agents basically was specialized in a specific category, right? So the key point here was that we created an agent for each category. So some of them were legal oriented, some of them were bills, some of them were statements, some of them were personal things, and so on and so forth, right? Now what we did is we took that same piece of mail and had it sent to each of these agents for them to determine, is this mail categorized by, should it come to us or should it go to someone else? And basically these are well-written prompts where we basically said, legal contains what? We went and studied this team and we said, okay, what are all the kinds of legal mail that they've gotten? We looked at over 2-3 months and we said, okay, there's maybe 20 different kinds of legal mail that we get. Is it a subpoena? Is it a legal notice? Is it a cease and desist? Right? Is it etc. Basically just coming up with that. And so we created that list and the single agent determines, is this mail come into my category or does it not? And so what we ended up with was basically a confidence score by each of these agents that, let's say this mail, for example, was a bill. The legal department would say, or the legal agent would say, no, this is not really a legal mail. The bill, out of 10. The bill department would say, you know what, this is 9 out of 10 a bill. Statement would say, okay, you know what, it's 5 out of 10 a statement. Personal, no, this is not really personal, it's clearly written for the business. And we took all of this whole system, and we automated it. So basically what we did was we took all of the mail that's coming in, we sent it through the system, we come up with what is a likely categorization of this, and effectively we turned this inbox into was a bunch of spreadsheets for each department, right? So one spreadsheet for the legal department, one spreadsheet for the bill department, one spreadsheet for the personal. And in that spreadsheet, we were able to not only organize it like this, so now instead of the person literally handing papers to the legal department saying, can you figure this out? Now the legal department gets a full table, a full list of all of the mail that they need to get with all of the fields that are important, right? How urgent is this, right? What is a priority? Is it urgent, critical, non-critical? What is the due date, right? A lot of mail we found out was just getting missed, meaning it was way past the due date and nobody had responded to it. But now we could, right? Now we can look at actually when is it due. We can look at who sent it, right? The sender. Is a response required? And so many more fields, basically just by asking the LLM, saying, is this a legal letter? If so, give all this information. Who's the sender? What is the due date? Is it critical, etc. And what we were able to do was, originally we deployed the system, we had about a 70% accuracy. Humans, by the way, when we measured, were less than 70%. By the time we were done, we were able to get this to over 98% accurate. And the coolest thing was some of the mail was fully automatable, meaning there was a bill that was just all you needed to do was go to a website and say understood, or there was a statement that all we needed to do was send it to the finance department and input it into accounts payable, or there was personal mail that just needed a response letter, right? We were able to take some of the mail and slowly start working towards how do we actually respond to it automatically as well. So once we digitized the process, then we AIified it. Then the final step, which we're working on currently, is figuring out the responses. Now, of course, we can't build a fully automated auto-responding tool, but the beauty of this is that we're able to at least start, right? We can now look at certain pieces of mail, about 10 to 20% is what we've identified so far, is actually fully automatable, meaning we can actually automatically have the AI write up a letter, send an email, write up a notice, send an email, go into QuickBooks and file it in the right file. So that's the next phase of work, where we're basically able to take this team of about 4 or 5 people and reduce the requirements of their work by almost 80 to 90%. So this is just an example of 80 to 90%. This is just an example of some of the work that we can do by deploying AI actively in an organization. If you're interested, this is a system that we've already built. We're more than happy to deploy it for you. But if you have other questions and comments around how can we use AI in our work, do not hesitate to reach out to us. This is what we do. This is what we specialize in, and looking forward to helping you out.